Human rights violations are common in many parts of the world, but they are especially heinous in the Southeast Asian region. Among this area lies Bangladesh, where various types of human rights violations occur. In Bangladesh, women are the prime victims of most human rights violations, and the instances of violence against women in the region take on numerous forms. The most damaging and life-threatening of all methods of violence is the act of throwing acid. In Bangladesh, the majority of acid victims are young women and girls between the ages of 13 and 25. In a recent report compiled by an NGO in the sector, there were more than 200 reported incidents of acid throwing in the year 2012 alone. Many cases are not reported due to the fear of further retaliation or lack of community support for the victims. Recently, there has been an increase in attacks on children, men, and older women. The majority of these attacks stem from such issues as disputes in the family over personal grievances, conflict over land ownership, or simple acts of revenge. In younger female victims, the main reason behind acid violence continues to be marital disputes, failed love connections, issues with dowry payments, and family opposition to marriage proposals. The sulfuric and nitric acid used in most attacks can be found at relatively low cost at most local pharmacies. When acid is thrown on human flesh, it burns through the fatty tissue with impunity. In almost every case, the face of the victim is irreparably scarred. Acid also causes such deep trauma to the muscle, skin, and soft tissue of the body that a permanent odor of decay remains on the victim, well past the recovery stage. Acid that is thrown in the eyes creates permanent and irreversible damage. The majority of victims lose sight in one or both eyes after an attack. The instances of acid attacks are poorly reported, so reliable statistics are not readily available. In 1999, a non-profit organization, the Acid Survivors Foundation, was formed to help negate the societal effects of this life-altering crime. Since its inception, the study of affected persons has been established. From their recent studies, the foundation has discovered around 3,500 cases of women, young girls, and children in various parts of Bangladesh. The actual number of cases is much higher, however. Due to fear, death, and lack of support, many of these attacks are not reported. In 2002, the government of Bangladesh enacted 2 laws to fight against acid violence and punish the culprits. The Acid Crimes Prevention Act and the Acid Control Act increased maximum punishment for the perpetrators of acid violence, while also increasing the regulation and licensing requirements for the sale of commercial-grade acid products. Under the new laws, sale, storage, transport, import, or production without proper licensing will result in jail term of 3 to 10 years. In the case of perpetrators throwing acid on another human, the maximum penalty is death, though it is rarely awarded. There have been several acid throwers awarded life sentences for their acts under the new law, and 100 perpetrators have been sentenced to death for their human rights violations. However, to date, not a single one has been executed. Adding additional insult to the victims, many perpetrators, even those with life sentences, are able to secure bail from a higher court. Upon their release, many of these heartless criminals take revenge on the victims once again in retaliation for reporting the acid attack. Most acid throwing incidents occur outside of Dhaka, the capital city. However, there has been an increase in acid violence in Dhaka as well. In January of 2013, a college student became the victim of a violent acid attack when she refused a marriage proposal from an insistent suitor. She is still under the treatment of the burn unit in Dhaka Medical College Hospital. Kisharganj is a district under Dhaka Division, though 120 kilometers away from the capital. Just like many other parts of Bangladesh, acid violence runs rampant. There are several cases of acid attacks currently pending in Kisharganj Criminal Court. Young girls often fall victim to eve-teasing and sexual assault on their way to and from school. On many occasions, thwarted efforts result in tormentors throwing acid at their targets. A popular high school in Kisharganj is one location where such an occurrence of acid violence took place. Our victim, Salma, who is a student of class 10, was a frequent target of harassment from rowdy boys who often gathered outside of the school. One day, as she was leaving school for the day with her friends, an older boy in the group offered her a note. Instead of taking it, she ran inside to inform the principal. Shortly after, the headmistress, along with several teachers, came outside to confront the boys. The headmistress sternly informed the boys that they must leave the area and stop harassing the students or face police action. Having been enraged by the confrontation, the boys returned the following day. As Salma was leaving school for the day, the boys threw acid on her face as an act of revenge. A few students who witnessed the attack rushed to her aid, while others ran inside to inform the school officials. The principal ran outside to Salma and asked those around her what happened. This prompted them to shout, "Acid attack! Acid attack!" The guards, along with the help of passing bystanders, were able to apprehend two of the boys. The headmistress then called the police station to report the incident. She also called the hospital to request an ambulance for the victim, Salma. When the police arrived, they took custody of the criminal. While the victim was transported to the hospital under the care of a teacher and some classmates. A case is filed in the criminal court of Kisharganj against the accused for throwing acid on the victim. In the meantime, the teachers and students of the high school organized a protest that coincided with International Women's Day on March 8th. The group pressed forth their demands of swift and just punishment against the aggressors of acid violence. The criminal trials held at Kisharganj District Judges Court, and the accused, Abul Hussain, is brought before the court. The district judge enters and calls for the proceedings to begin. The prosecution and defense lawyers argue before the court on behalf of their respective clients.
এই মুকদ্দমার যে ভিকটিম সালমা বানু, যে তার মেয়েকে অ্যাসিড নিক্ষেপ করছে আসামি আবুল হোসেন বিকেল অনুমান 3:30-4টার দিকে। এই মুকদ্দমার সমর্থনে এজাহার দায়ের করা হয় পরবর্তী দিনেই, ওই দিনেই সন্ধ্যায়। পরবর্তীতে স্যার ভিকটিমকে হসপিটালে নেওয়া হয়। সকল সাক্ষীগণেই মাননীয় আদালতে এই সালমা বানু যে ভিকটিম আহমদ আলীর মুকদ্দমা সমর্থন করে সকল সাক্ষীগণেই সকল সন্দেহের ঊর্ধ্বে মুকদ্দমা প্রমাণ করতে সমর্থ হয়েছেন বিদায় এটা অ্যাসিড বার্নের মুকদ্দমা আমি মাননীয় আদালতে ন্যায় বিচারের স্বার্থে নিবেদন করতে চাই। এই আজকের যে আসামি আবুল হোসেন তার সর্বোচ্চ শাস্তির জন্য বিনীতভাবে প্রার্থনা করতেছি।
জব্দ হয় নাই, এগুলিও সঠিকভাবে প্রমাণিত হয় নাই এবং এর দ্বারাও এই আসামির বিরুদ্ধে মামলাটি যেভাবে প্রমাণ করা উচিত ছিল সেভাবে প্রমাণ করতে পারেন নাই এবং ডাক্তার যে সার্টিফিকেট দিয়েছে এবং সাক্ষ্য দিয়েছে, ডাক্তারের সাক্ষ্য এবং তার সার্টিফিকেটের সাথে এর সাথে কোনো একে কোরোবোরেট করে নাই। কাজে আমি নিবেদন করব আজকের এই মোকদ্দমায় আবার আসামি সম্পূর্ণ নির্দোষ, তিনি সসম্মানে এই আদালত থেকে মাননীয় আদালতের ন্যায় বিচারে সে খালাস পাবে।
After hearing from both sides, the judge announces his verdict as follows.
অত্র মামলার যে ভিকটিম সালমা একটি কিশোরী, সে একটি বিদ্যালয়ের 10ম শ্রেণীর ছাত্রী। আসামি আবুল হোসেনের দ্বারা অ্যাসিড নিক্ষেপের কারণে তার মুখ মণ্ডল এবং ঘাড় ও কাঁধ ঝলসে গিয়েছে। আমরা রাষ্ট্রপক্ষ থেকে 12 জন সাক্ষীর মধ্যে 9 জন সাক্ষীর সাক্ষ্য শুনেছি এবং আমরা প্রসিকিউশন পক্ষের বিজ্ঞ পাবলিক প্রসিকিউটর বক্তব্য শুনেছি এবং আমরা আসামি পক্ষ থেকে বিজ্ঞ কৌশলী ভূপেন্দ্র ভৌমিক দলনের বক্তব্য শুনেছি। সাক্ষ্য প্রমাণের ভিত্তিতে আসামি আবুল হোসেনের বিরুদ্ধে অভিযোগ সন্দেহাতীতভাবে প্রমাণিত হয়েছে। আমি মনে করি তার বয়স বিবেচনায় তার মৃত্যুদণ্ডের পরিবর্তে যাবজ্জীবন কারাদণ্ড প্রদান শ্রেয়। সেই হিসেবে আমি তার 2002 সালের 5 ক ধারার অভিযোগে দোষী সাব্যস্তপূর্বক উক্ত আসামিকে দণ্ডিত করে যাবজ্জীবন কারাদণ্ড এবং 50,000 টাকা জরিমানা অনাদায়ে আরও 2 বছর সশ্রম কারাদণ্ডে দণ্ডিত করলাম।
Abul Hussain is charged with the offense of throwing acid on victim Salma Banu. He is being tried under Section A of the Acid Violence Act of 2002 for disfiguring face, neck, and shoulder of victim Salma Banu by throwing acid. Therefore, he is sentenced to suffer life-term imprisonment and also pay a fine of Taka 50,000. In default, he is to suffer rigorous imprisonment for an additional 2 years.
তরে ওই কান আশা নিয়ে রয়েছে বাঁচে সদাই ভাবনা, যা কিছু পায় হারায় যায় না মানে সান্ত্বনা। ফুরায় মেলা ফুরায় খেলা, সন্ধ্যা হয়ে আসে, কাঁদে তখন আকুল মন, কাঁপে তরাসে। কি হবে গতি বিশ্বপতি, শান্তি কোথা আছে, তোমারে দাও আশা পুরাও, তুমি এসো কাছে।
The continuous acts of acid violence in Bangladesh has encouraged several organizations to come forward with efforts to save acid victims and increase awareness of the crime in an effort to stop it. Among these, the Acid Survivors Foundation, ASF, and the Daily Prothom Alo play a significant role in the fight against acid violence. The Acid Survivors Foundation and Dhaka Medical College Burn Unit provide treatment facilities to acid victims at little to no cost. The Daily Prothom Alo has initiated several activities to highlight human rights issues. Activities such as publishing feature stories, news items, and editorials relating to acid attack. The newspaper also takes part in actively campaigning against acid violence crimes. Apart from programs that build awareness, they have also created the Prothom Alo Trust Fund for acid-burned women. This fund was initiated in April of 2000 with the motto, "No more faces would burn." The sympathetic journalists working for the newspaper donated a full-day salary to start the trust fund. Gradually, the readership, well-wishers, business groups, professionals, and various organizations started depositing donation in the newspaper's trust fund for acid victims. Along with financially solvent people, school-aged children and garment workers have also contributed to the fund. The Prothom Alo Trust Fund goes towards paying expenses for acid burn treatment, plastic surgery to lessen the scars, legal fees, victim scholarship to continue their studies, and living expenses of the various burn victims. The Trust has also provided new homes and income-generating assets such as milk cows, sewing machines, rickshaws, farmland, and small shops to the acid survivors. One such acid victim, Angura Begum, was attacked by her husband in 2006 when she protested his extramarital relationship. After her rehabilitation, she was given farmland by the Prothom Alo Trust Fund in 2008. Though Angura's life has been derailed, she still maintains high hopes for educating her two children. The Prothom Alo continues to pressure the government to increase regulation of the dangerous chemicals and enforce stricter laws surrounding acid violence. The Acid Survivors Foundation, commonly referred to as ASF, runs a 20-bed hospital that provides comprehensive treatment to the acid victims and the victims of other burn violence. These services are provided free of cost. National and international expert plastic surgeons often volunteer their services to perform reconstructive and cosmetic surgery. Acid attacks not only have physical damage, but it causes severe psychological trauma. ASF provides victims basic counseling, psychotherapy, along with art and music therapy. One especially gruesome case of a 1-month-old acid victim was very complicated, which required emergency treatment outside of the country. ASF used their resources to support his care. ASF also provides skilled development training to survivors of acid violence and also helps them to secure jobs that suit their new skills. Several survivors are providing nursing care to new acid victims at the ASF hospital. A group of survivors has been trained by international occupational therapists to manufacture pressure garments in Bangladesh. ASF also offers legal support. As a result of their advocacy, the government established the National Acid Control Council and District Acid Control Committees. ASF works at the community level to encourage acceptance and help restore the dignity of acid survivors with not only their families, but also in society. Since its inception, ASF has observed an increase in acid attacks from 1999 to 2002. In 2002, for the first time in Bangladesh, ASF mobilized a rally which included thousands of men demanding a stop to acid violence. The rally was held on the occasion of International Women's Day to increase awareness. Successful prevention campaigns have been brought forth by the ASF, the Daily Protomalo, and other organizations. The trend of acid violence has reduced, but has not stopped. Many acid survivors are now able to join society in some way, but they need more support from the government and common people to be successful. Much more attention is needed from sympathetic patrons in order to truly live with confidence and dignity.